Hello, everybody. This is Bart Sharp, and you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious at United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 103.5, broadcasting out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana. And we are also on Facebook, YouTube, and the UPRN Talk Radio website. Also, we're on Roku. And I am a little blurry today, so cable television will not be the best place to do it. And I have no idea why. I blame it on StreamYard. Anyway, I feel a little blurry today. Anyway, I don't know why, but we just go through those things. So maybe this is my aura right now. And I'm just like a blurry aura that fills up, and you are getting a small example of how big my aura is, a blurry aura at that. Anyway, it's all well, and I want to bring on our guests today. Bring them on. Hello, we welcome Elyn Aviva and Gary White onto the show today. How are y'all doing?
We're good.
We're fine.
Happy to be here. Thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, my pleasure. They are in Girona, Spain. We have crossed the big pond again. I know I wanted to go back into more Americans, but once you sort of get into the European community, it's hard to get away from them. The thing I really like about the European community is their dedication to service and helping the big picture of what consciousness is. I know so many great inventors, and it really describes you guys a lot because you keep writing books from your book company, pilgrimsprocess.com about consciousness. And they're just coming out right and left with you two. Which is amazing.
Well, thank you. We have a whole series called Powerful Places Guidebooks that talk about sacred sites and powerful places and describe. And this is somewhat similar to at least one of your books, I think, where we talk about unusual experiences, spiritual feelings and energies at different sites that we've been at, so that people whether it can have a deeper transformational experience, not just be surface tourists.
And they are really important because when you start to go to sacred sites and you show up, you may not know how to interact with that site. And that's a lot what you are explaining in your book, Powerful Places Guidebooks, with that. But also you have a couple other books, and I'm just going to go through those before we get to the meat of the show. You have a book called Walking Through Cancer, A Pilgrim of Gratitude on the Way of St. James. Also, The Journey, a novel of pilgrimage and spiritual quest. And The Dead End on the Camino, that would be the Camino Trail in Spain, Portugal, also in France. Also, Following the Milky Way, a pilgrimage on the Camino de Santiago. I mean, so many places and so much information about the experience. But go ahead.
Well, I've spent a lot of my life studying pilgrimage and going on pilgrimage. I did my PhD in anthropology on the Camino de Santiago and walked it in 1982 before it became popular. And Gary and I have walked together, and Gary's a dowser and has written about dowsing as another way of, well, your book on dowsing is, what's the subtitle?
The Dowsing Mind into Multidimensional Realms and Back.
Consciousness again, exploring consciousness.
Wow, that's a juicy title, I have to say.
It's a great book. It's an introduction. But you're changing consciousness to enter other to access information from other realms.
Which is
Yeah.
what dowsing is.
Which makes me want to change the whole topic of the whole show right now, but we're not.
We'll do another one with you.
Here we have it. Today's book that's just come out is The Reluctant Medium, and that's I mean, I love the title. And you started this process just kind of by accident, am I getting it right?
Yeah. Oops, I dropped my. Maybe can I read a little bit from the book?
Yeah, please.
Grab it. So here's the book, the cover of it, and I've got all kinds of marks here to point out different topics that are in there. But I'll just start by reading it. Gary and I have taken some courses in mediumship, but not really because we wanted to contact anybody, but just more to explore consciousness. And then we had this experience. So let me just read a few pages. If you had told me that I would be channeling messages from a Greek philosopher who died over 1,700 years ago, I'd have said you were nuts. But that's exactly what spontaneously happened to me with irrefutable evidence. So I knew I wasn't making it up. Gary and I were engaged in an intense conversation about a book project on everyday mystics when I suddenly felt a voice eagerly wanting to come through me and speak. I felt a light pressure on my right temple, my eyes shifted focus, and I could feel the inside of my mouth change.
Okay, I think we just got kicked off there, and I hope they come back on. That was a really surprising thing. So I'm not for sure what happened, but you have been listening to Elyn Aviva and Gary White of The Reluctant Medium, which is a really great book about this journey of getting into mediumship. And when we talk about mediumship, we're talking about those people who have been live in human bodies, have transitioned, moved on, and then they are on the other side. And it's different from a lot of other people. It's a form of channeling, but we call it mediumship because you are talking to deceased people. That's the difference between the two. And other types of channeling would be talking to maybe a spirit being from the forest, or a tree, or a fairy, or somebody that hasn't been in a body. And I think they are back. Woohoo, hey guys. And hopefully that we'll get your audio. I can't hear you with that. And we're getting closer here to getting this together. All right, there you go.
Okay.
So let's go back to the book that you were reading and just start over, as you wanted to read a couple of books from your book, The Reluctant Medium.
So I was reading from the very beginning when Gary and I were sitting in a coffee nook, and suddenly I felt this voice want to speak through me. I felt the pressure, my mouth changed shape. I mean, it was such a physical experience. I spontaneously spoke a few words in a deep, slightly accented voice, and then I stopped. Whoa, I wasn't at all sure I wanted to channel someone. Then I reconsidered and said, well, okay, I'll do it. After all, I was being offered an opportunity to channel without having to do a lot of discipline training. Why not give it a try? I gave a mental nod of permission. My mouth cavity changed shape again, and I spoke in a voice that was not my own. Here's what came through. We humans are here to experience the full range of experience. That's why we have incarnated. We learn from the bad more than from the good. We are in the process of spiritual evolution, and we need to have the full range of experiences to evolve. The voice I was channeling was answering some of the very questions that Gary and I had been asking. Then the voice stopped and started to withdraw. I had the presence of mind to ask, "Who are you?" I silently heard the answer, someone with a name beginning with P. The name Plotinus flashed before me, and then he was gone. Gary was watching me, wide-eyed. "That was interesting," he said. I nodded, unable to speak. I took out my iPhone and wrote in my notes app what I could remember him saying, which was not much, and what Gary remembered I said, which was all the rest of it. Thank goodness our cozy coffee nook had good Wi-Fi. Shakily, I Googled Plotinus. There he was. Widely considered the founder of Neoplatonism, Plotinus was a Greek philosopher who lived in the 3rd century AD. I skimmed the entry. Plotinus Aeneas addressed many of the questions that Gary and I were asking each other. He must have been listening in. But how could that be? Stunned, I finished sipping my coffee. Plotinus was real, a real person, a real dead person, a very long, dead, real person, talking through me, using me as a speaking tube. We sat in silence for a while, then paid our bill. We walked out of the cafe into a radically altered reality. It was one thing to take courses in mediumship and contacting spirit guides. It was quite another to have a being come through me to comment on our book project. I wondered how long Plotinus had been eavesdropping. I was easily shaken.
Well, go ahead.
No. If Plotinus really was real, and he certainly seemed to be, then continuity of consciousness really is real. It was an earthquake to my belief system, my reality paradigm. It was one thing to intellectually believe in channeling departed loved ones, and to believe in others who had those experiences, but having it myself was quite another matter. And oh my, the ramifications. There is life after life. There is continuity of consciousness. Non-physical beings are listening in. They know what's going on in this realm of reality. They are engaged, involved in our human lives, giving us gentle nudges to help us move in the right direction. We aren't living in an uncaring or disinterested universe. It, consciousness, is actively engaged.
Wow. Boy, that's a great summary of so many questions that are stimulated from it, like just right on the other side. And Plotinus may have been listening in to you for quite some time.
Well, in my subsequent dialogues with him, because after the initial one, he kept coming back. And the next time I went, again. And Gary said, look, don't tell him to go away. Why don't you just say, come back a little later? And I got used to it. With Gary's encouragement, I began to sit down in my morning meditation and just be present for him. And over time, he informed me he had been looking over me and watching over me for some time, waiting for me to get to the point of development where I could accept his presence.
When you say point of development, do you think that's more of an attitudinal thing or acceptance thing, or that you reach a certain vibrational frequency that can do such a channel?
Oh, that's a really good question. I guess I'd say at least both of those. I mean, you have to be open.
You do.
And this is going to segue to something else, because I think anybody can channel. So I think some people can do it from, when they're 3 or 4 years old, when they have a gift, they're open to it. have a wider bandwidth of energy that they can respond to. And some people need a lot of training. I was no good in the medium classes, in the mediumship classes. I really didn't do very well. But I have spent years, we have spent years on different spiritual paths, exploring other realms of consciousness in one way or another, meditating daily. So I don't know how much that had to do with it.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Say,
go ahead, Gary.
one thing they say is that often the thoughts that we think we are our thoughts, they're putting in our minds.
Hmm.
So many of our thoughts are actually coming to us from the other realms.
You know, that's a very interesting question because, you know, it's a really popular notion these days amongst the metaphysical community that all the minds of the people who are alive, we're all in a kind of a matrix and we're picking up thoughts from all other people.
Exactly.
However, this is a totally different frequency of going into the other realm frequency. I mean,
Maybe
I
a way
just,
of working with what Gary's saying to some extent is when you have that inner intuition that tells you to go down that street or to turn there or to check your email or that kind of intuitive hit.
mhm.
Or you have a friend and they call you immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just chance?
How many times has that happened?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. I've never really considered that. If that, well, you could be into that higher matrix. And when we think about somebody like Plotinus and those beings have been, you know, out of the circuit for 1700 years, maybe,
Yeah,
or maybe they have come and gone. But when they are on the other side, would you say that they are coming from a higher vibration of being?
they tell me that. They in the book there are lots of different topics that we talk about, and I'm asking them lots of questions. There's a whole year's worth of messages that many of which have to do with what's going on in my life too. I mean, uh, and they're responding to that. But they make it quite clear that it's a matter of frequency and vibration, and that they are at a different frequency, that they communicate through frequency or maybe vibration. They don't use words the way we do.
Mm-hmm.
They themselves are in a process of they talk a lot in terms that are musical. So they're in a process of becoming more harmonious, of removing discord, of sort of clearing their vibration, and that the higher the more clarified, the higher their vibration, the more they are moving toward returning back to the source from which we all come.
Wow. So do you think it, I mean, I've listened to different channels or mediums. And the question I always have is, how well have they done in releasing their ego, their masculine side, their defensiveness, or, you know, and having those annoying qualities like, well, I am better than you, or I know this a lot more, I'm a bit superior than you, or I am lesser than you. All of those ego type of qualities,
Mm-hmm.
do you think those get filtered away? Do they automatically go out, or are they more like what you're saying of as they get higher, maybe they change? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, they talk a lot about the personality, and that under it all is the soul, that there's sort of a melody that each of us is. I mean, again, it's musical. There's sort of a melody that each of us is, and then there are all kinds of riffs on it, and
Hmm.
illustrations and expansions on that core melody. And those riffs and expansions have a lot to do with personality. And another example they use is like we were wearing lots of layers of clothes over our core soul. And as you are in the other dimensions, you gradually release layers of clothing until you get more towards the you that is within that one pure soul that rejoins the one that is all.
Wow. So that's a really interesting metaphor of losing your clothes and personalities. And so maybe the superior guy is losing that big heavy coat there. What a load to be lifted off.
You know, they tell me that Plotinus and Hypatia and the collective, who are some of the, mostly the beings that I talk with, or there are others who have started showing up, but they'll tell me, you know, they still have enough personality that they are engaged in the world. They want to get their message across, which is about how we are at a dangerous time and we need to be more harmonious on the planet and remember to love each other and to treat other people with kindness. And they keep repeating that message in different ways in the book.
Hmm.
And they say, you know, they're still close enough to humanity. 1700 years doesn't mean anything on the other side. And Hypatia died maybe 1600 years ago. So they're still close enough to humanity. They can reincarnate if they choose to. And they care. They're still involved. But they tell me that as they progress towards more harmoniousness, towards a finer frequency or higher vibration, that they will be less engaged with what's going on the planet.
Hmm. So when you say that there's dangerous times or times that we need to be prudent, so to
Yeah.
speak, uh, did they give you any specific information or
Well,
in?
you know, I have asked them about I asked them, the book is mostly from the first year of channeling, and I still have conversations with them and go on about that. And I've said, you know, look at what's going on in the world. I mean, it's just chaotic and it seems so dangerous and traumatic right now in so many countries all over.
Oh,
And they,
yes.
well, take a bigger picture. We've been through these things before. Hypatia remembers when Alexandria got sacked and she got torn apart by a rabid Christian mob. And, you know, they go, look, you know, there's just a bigger picture here. And, but that it is a time where it's very important to help humanity rise up and become more, well, what Hypatia's famous
Hypatia
statement.
says repeatedly, what you do to others, you do to yourself,
Hmm.
because there is no other. We're all one.
So when you're ripping somebody to pieces, you're ripping yourself apart on a karmic level. And
Exactly.
therefore you have one heavy coat that you'll be wearing on the other side.
And you'll need to release it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it'd be kind of like, well, what if we just no longer gravitate to that trauma and have a really wonderful, productive, caring, loving life?
That's what they're urging. They say, you know, love is what is it's all about. And that can sound so trite, really. Sort of, the love of a partner or a mother to a child or a father to a child. They're talking about something bigger. In fact, they said once that you think that gravity holds everything together, but it's not gravity, it's love at the universal level.
Ooh, I want to say that again. You think gravity holds everything together, but
But
it
it's,
is a universal love.
yeah,
Yep.
I know
love,
there's
yeah.
the universal field of love is a concept a lot of people use with
But you know much more about the metaphysics than I do because it's not my field.
that.
I just sort of got dropped into this with Plotinus. So I haven't read a lot about it.
Oh,
But
go ahead.
no, just that they talk about attraction, the things that attract, but it's love. And the more we can treat each other as if we are the other and there is no other, and be kind not only to others but to ourselves, the more we are able to evolve spiritually. And everybody will evolve with us because it's like ripples uh, of love that's spread out that way.
Wow. Now, a lot of people, when you talk about love, they'll tell you definitions or go, well, I don't know what it is. It's just love. But I love that explanation. Love is how you see another and
Yes.
loving another. And then that doesn't just apply to your significant other, it applies to everyone.
And everything. I
It's
mean,
the
it's also the
glue that's
planet.
holding everything together.
That's right.
Hmm.
Planet too. It's how you treat the trees or the dog in the neighborhood or the earth itself.
Hmm. Whew. Just everybody, just let that soak in. That sums it up so purely. Wow. So it's a great time to tell everybody that you are listening to Elyn Aviva and Gary White, authors of many, many books. And the current one is The Reluctant Medium. And you can find this on Publishing.com. Did I get that right? Or Pioneer
Pil-
Publishing? No,
Pilgrim
no. Where did I
pilgrim
get this?
process. Well,
I think I'm too stoned from the love thing. www.pilgrimprocess.com.
right.
Right.
Pilgrimprocess.com. You can
Right.
go to their website and see all of these great books that they have written passionately out there. Um, and before I fall off the cliff with another stone remark, I'd just like to say that you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious at United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 103.5 out of New Orleans, Louisiana. My name is Bart Sharp. And, when you start to open this reality, and my guess is Plotinus is right here with us amongst other beings, and you may not have noticed this now, but you probably did at some time, that you probably get very expanded. I feel it right now, that you're not you anymore. You're in another state.
Yes.
How does that feel like for you two? Because you've been doing this for a couple of years now. You're still kind of new to it, and at the same time, you've been doing it to where it's quite familiar. Does this make any kind of sense to y'all about that expansion process that
Make,
happens when the other side steps across?
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. I can't get my head around it in some sense because I'm living on this plane and everything seems separate. But I know and I trust that if you looked at it from a larger perspective, it's all one and we're all a part of it. And anything that we do to anyone else, we're doing it to ourselves.
Amen. And it's something, to me, it's very humbling. And at the same time, when you hit humility, you also open to a new power. Do you feel like since you have stepped into this practice, this attitude, that more information, more beings on the other side seem to be coming through?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's opening up?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when it first started, it was such a shock. And I mean, I just sort of be reeling from it. And Plotinus explained to me that when two different dimensions, vibrational locations, realms, or whatever, are intersecting, that it's like sparks, because they have to sort of adapt to the different frequencies. And that it takes a bit. It takes energy from them, and it takes energy from the speaking tube or the vehicle or me. Over the almost 2 years now, it's become so much easier that it just flows. It's like it's here. And they'll tell me, we're not there. We're here. They're always here. We just don't know that they're here, but they're always here. And it's become so much easier. I can kind of just go, oh yeah, and say something. And more of them have come through. It started with Plotinus, and then Hypatia showed up. And as with Plotinus, I asked for evidence because I thought, I don't know what this is. And I don't know who he is. I'm not taking anything for granted. And so I asked Plotinus for evidence first. And I said, tell me something I don't know. And he gave me some verifiable evidence.
Yes.
He told me the name of some Greek philosopher, some Greek guy that he wasn't too fond of when he was on this. Well, he just wasn't too fond of him. And I had never heard of this person or most Greek philosophers. And I just checked him out, and it turned out he was a student of Plotinus's most important student. And he had perspectives that were different from Plotinus's. And I asked for evidence on various occasions because it's too easy to make up stories and not know that you are, to think, oh, I'm really listening to Cleopatra or something. But even if their advice is really wise and significant, I like to know that I'm really, really connected to this consciousness that has continued after it passed over to the other side. And Hypatia gave me some evidence. She said something in Chinese was one of the evidence bits that she gave me. And I thought, Chinese? And then I looked it up and found out that, she lived in Alexandria, Egypt, in the mid 300s to 415. And there was the Silk Road, and there was travel from China, and there were Chinese people there. And so she may well have picked up a few words. And she also appeared in a way that because I sort of see them in my mind's eye, wearing a certain costume. And when I checked online, I found out women didn't wear that. It was only worn by male Greek philosophers. But she was allowed to wear that costume because she had so much respect in Alexandria. She ran her own Neoplatonic academy. And then they're in a group called The Collective that has a shifting number of people in it. And sometimes there are some God forms in there, like Thoth has shown up. And more recently, we were in Delphi. There's a story at the end of the book about an old partner of mine who I split with 40 years ago, and in a very bad relationship. And he passed on about 20 years ago, and he started coming back to me in dreams last May, and I was like, what? And a vivid, lucid dream. I mean, he was there. I mean, I could smell him. I mean, it was like, what? But you're dead, you know? And then I started talking to him in meditation and found out about a past life we shared, and he told me things that I needed to know about how I had behaved that I had never realized, and I needed to reconsider.
And parenthetically, he was a professor of
Greek
philosophy, and he had studied these philosophers.
Later, long after.
Wow.
But then he gave me evidence too, because I thought, I don't believe this. I mean, Michael, really? I mean, not that I would have imagined the things he said to me, because they were so true about my behavior, but I had no awareness of it at the time. And he gave me two things, signs to look for. One was gray feathers, and the other was lighthouse. And I thought, well, okay. So Gary and I walked out the door into a flood. No, that afternoon. Into a flood of gray pigeon feathers.
Wow.
Oh, okay. But there was no lighthouse. And I thought, I don't know. So the next day I visited again, and Plotinus said, well, how's that going? And I said, well, I'm still waiting for the other sign. And he said, just be patient. And then I went to see my acupuncturist that morning. And we're talking, and she said, oh, a couple of days ago, she and her partner had gone on a trip to a place about 30 miles from here, and inland. And they had gone to a restaurant called, to a sanctuary on a hilltop called El Far. And Far is Catalan for lighthouse.
Oh.
And I said, Far. I mean, I rose up off the table, you know, covered with needles. And I said, what? Fire? What do you mean? Lighthouse, Far. And she said, yeah, it's the place looks, it's like a very sharp cliffed, flat plateau. And they used to have bonfires at the top, and they called it the lighthouse.
Wow.
And well, that's typical of Michael. He was so erudite, he'd expect me to know the Catalan word for lighthouse. I thought, it was him, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
And he told you that he would see you in Delphi.
And I said, well, because we have this past life in Delphi. And I said, well, yeah, right. I mean, we had no intentions of going to Delphi. And within the week, I got an email invitation to a very small weekend retreat that was being led by some women in Delphi. And I thought, okay, maybe we'll go on that. And I contacted Kathy Coyle, and Laurentine Ten Bush, who are the two organizers. I asked Kathy, I said, look, you know, we're older. I mean, Gary's 88, I'm 79, and we need to know what it's going to be like if we're on this retreat in Delphi, because it's hilly. And how far is the hotel from the museum and this kind of thing? And she said, don't worry, we'll take care of you. It'll work out fine. And we went. And it was amazing. And it was an amazing experience.
Wow.
And Delphi looks down on the coast where it turns out that Michael drowned swimming
So all
20 years ago.
All these
Wow.
synchronicities and very, very,
Well, it certainly lets you know how time and space are a nonlinear concept.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. and that we need to remember that. So it really just makes me wonder, for those who are not mediums, or you are a little bit of a medium, how could you use these tools to help facilitate your life from what you two
Mm.
have learned? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
For me, the most, well, there's several answers. Let's see if I can remember both
All
before.
right.
What is that I have, we've had some relationship struggle. We were working on a project called Celebration, a musical project. Gary's a retired composer, and we started working on this because it was given to us in a dream last year. We both had the same dream,
Wow.
or different parts of it. And I said, okay, Spirit's telling us to do this. And Plotinus said, yes, we've got your back on this. And we tried to do this. We did it, but we had so many, our relationship flaws, struggles, cracks, just were right there in front of us. And Celebration is about recognizing how we're all connected, we're all related, we're all made of the stuff of stars. I have no idea. That's a civil service alert. I have no idea.
We'll blame it on the mediums.
What? My goodness. This is. Okay.
Well, one thing about ghosts and mediums is they're able to manipulate electrical devices very well.
Oh,
If
yes.
nobody knows.
We experienced that one.
Okay. Let me just briefly respond to your question. One is, I asked them for help. I asked our guides for help. And yeah, you guys were really right on about that. That's actually a warning, a civil service warning that there are torrential floods possible.
Wow.
And that's what that was. But it came at an interesting time.
Didn't it?
Yeah.
It did.
So I, oh, and they have given amazing advice to me about dealing with relationship issues, and dealing with past trauma, and not letting go of things that have hurt me in the past. And they have just been amazing. So that's one answer to how the mediumship or the channeling can help, is they guides, and they give really good counseling advice. Another way that is a bigger picture is, for me, knowing, I mean, really knowing, not just thinking or holding it on faith, but knowing that there is consciousness that continues, that we die and that's not the end, that the soul continues, that there is life after life, that the stories I've heard and I have believed, but I haven't had a personal experience of it, that it's true. And that really shifts my perception of my own life and how I live. And it gives such a longer time frame and gives so much to each life if we reincarnate and go through it.
You blipped a little bit. It said it gives you a time or something. Can you try to rephrase that?
Yeah, that it changes my time frame and me know, not just believe, but really know that we continue, that we pass on, we lose our body form, we lose the materiality that we are, but that our experiences, our life continues, and we can come back again and have more experiences and learn from it, but that we're evolving. It's not just a one shot and that's it. And that really, that knowing that, I'm talking to Plotinus. I'm talking to this guy who passed over, 1,700 years ago. It has really shifted my experience of being alive now.
And we should
Go ahead, Gary.
We should tell you that we had an interesting experience with technology and them influencing technology in preparation for this very conversation that we're having.
Oh, yeah.
We were,
Should you want me to?
yeah, go
Okay.
ahead and tell
Okay.
it.
So last week, I was interviewed on a different radio show, and in
Santa Fe, New Mexico.
in Santa Fe, and it was a recording. And 2 days later, the program was going to be aired, and that's fine. I mean, they had called me on my phone, on my cell phone. That's the number the woman had, and everything went fine. So 2 days later, so on Thursday at 10 in the morning, Gary gets a phone call on his cell phone, and he missed it. And we checked the number, and it was from Santa Fe. And so we called it back.
It was the radio
the radio
station
station.
in Santa Fe
Now,
calling on my phone when they didn't have my phone number.
Huh.
and I immediately WhatsApped the organizer because I was really confused. And I thought, I got confused about the times difference.
Right.
Calling me to say that, 7 hours difference. They're calling me to say the show's going on. They must need something from me. And I WhatsApped the organizer, who didn't get back to me for about 5 hours. But it was just very puzzling. And I called the station again, and I just got the switchboard, and I thought, okay. So she got back with me. She said, I don't know what happened. She said, that's totally bizarre. We don't have Gary's number. And she said, nobody would call from the radio station at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Because that would have been 3 in the morning, their time.
And I said, I think Plotinus and the guys were calling Gary to let us know that they know we have this interview coming on Thursday.
Don't mess it up, guys.
I mean, there was no other explanation. And
You checked in with them. That's what they said.
yeah, they laughed. Yeah, they just laughed.
Mhm.
And it was like, okay. Now, if they'd called my phone number, I could have thought, like the organizer, that it was a computer glitch. That for some reason the computer was redialing at 3 in the morning. But nobody had Gary's number.
Wow.
Nobody.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I had this really itching question, and we just
Oh.
only have 8 minutes left, and I gotta ask it. So you have Plantinius, who's been on the other side for 1,700 years. We have other people that in that 1,700-year people, they have maybe have come back 20 times, to try to improve or get things right, or maybe they get whatever reasons they keep coming back. And what would those both perspectives have in common is they're trying to learn and evolve to a greater being.
right.
And I wonder, do you have any insights to why someone like Pathenius would choose to stay on the other side all of these years, and then other people keep coming back? Any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I've asked him, and he's answered that in the book in different places. It's a matter of choice. In fact, I asked him, are you going to reincarnate? And early on in the conversations we had, he said he didn't think so. He was going to do what he was doing and evolve on that side. And then later he said, yeah, I think I will. He said people can choose how they want to progress. They want to, he said it's faster. I think I've got this right. It's faster if you reincarnate because you learn, you have more experiences and you learn faster. But it's really your choice whether you do or not. He said what he has done is come through, and this is kind of what Gary was talking about when you think it's your ideas. He has come through to other people and some philosophers and an economist and some other people, and given them ideas that they thought were theirs, that they then put forward as their own.
Wow.
And I asked Hypatia, I don't think she has reincarnated. I asked her whether she has talked with other people, and she said, not many. Not many.
So maybe if you were on this side and you were stuck, you might find the people that you're inspired by on the other side and dial them up, so to speak.
Hey, that's a good idea. They say
Yeah.
they're Plotinus and Hypatia in the group say, ask us. They're
Hmm.
willing to communicate. I mean, I'm not the only one that Plotinus has talked to.
Wow.
Yeah. No,
Wow.
they're somebody talked about unemployed angels.
Yes.
Unemployed angels. There we have it.
They're communicate. They're willing to come through
Yeah.
and talk. In fact, I've been contacted by a Neoplatonist scholar whose specialty is Plotinus, and he has contacted me privately with a list of questions to ask Plotinus, because after reading the book, he thinks I am talking to Plotinus, and he wanted clarity on some specific issues.
Well,
And
I'm pretty clear you're talking to Plotinus.
yeah,
I wanted to ask you another question. It's like, because we got about 3 minutes left.
Okay.
And I wanted to let everybody know you are listening to Elyn Aviva and Gary White. They've authored of many books, but this one we're talking about is called The Reluctant Medium, and you can find it on Pilgrim Publish. Say it again.
Process.com. You can find it on.
It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon too.
Wherever you buy it.
All of these places. So just to let you know that it is out there. And got any other projects coming up? Any classes, other books, such that you want to promote? Tell everybody.
Well, Celebration, we'd like to promote that. We're still trying to get that a live performance of that. There is a YouTube version of it that's electronic, but not like a real performance. We have several book projects, and Hypatia told me I have a new book project, which is writing about powerful, inspiring women from the past. So,
Which you actually had started years ago.
I did, and I forgot about it, but she knew about it.
Yeah. And if you go to the website at Pilgrim Process, you will see a long list of books that they have put out about sacred sites, the Camino, various other topics, dowsing. So there's a wealth of information that both Elyn and Gary have produced out. And you have about 45 seconds if there's one parting bit of wisdom. And while you think about that, I want to let everybody know that you're listening to Elyn Aviva and Gary White, authors of The Reluctant Medium. My name is Bart Sharp on Becoming Quantum Conscious, and this is United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 103.5 out in New Orleans, Louisiana. What parting wisdom you want to share?
What you do to others, you do to yourself. Treat each other, treat everybody with love and kindness, and treat yourself with love and kindness. That's what.
That's a good message for the whole world right now. Thank you so much for being on the show today. It was beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Yes, and hope to see everybody again. Next week we'll have Ricardo Gonzalez. And until then, we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.